Hey you, yeah you are training way too hard, and in this video I'm going to explain exactly why that is. What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian Halligan, and today we are going to talk about the absolute most important aspect of biathlon training, and that is training zones, training too hard, and what is actually happening in our body. I'm going to try to use science to explain why people are always training way too hard. But if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button and okay, let's go. So let me start by explaining a little common sense to you. So let's take a moment to think about what's happening in our bodies. We need energy to move. We need energy to exist. And when we're doing a biathlon race, our body demands higher levels of energy than is required if we're just sitting on the couch watching Netflix, right? So in our body, to fuel the demand, our body takes glucose. This is the sugar that you get from when you eat food. And you take oxygen, which you inhale through your lungs, and you put it together and you create ATP. And this is the source of energy that our body uses to power ourselves. So when I want to hit the remote to change the channel, I use a little bit of ATP to get my muscles firing, get my muscles moving, and the result of that is I move my arm, I press the button with my thumb, and it works just like that. Now there's a consequence to this. By using the ATP, my body creates a byproduct of water and carbon dioxide, which I then exhale out through my mouth and nose, and the whole process starts all over again. Now, when I want to go out for training, I'm gonna need a little bit more energy in order to do these activities that I love. So my body has to use something more than just ATP, because my body doesn't have enough oxygen to combine the glucose and the oxygen together. So it just starts using the glucose to power my body. Now, just using the glucose works fine. I can get myself down the trail. I can do my activities that I love, but there is a byproduct. And this time it's not just carbon dioxide that I just exhale out through my lungs. It's now this item called lactic acid. And this is that product that we know creates the burning feeling in our muscles when we're working out. It's that buildup that makes us feel super sore the next morning after a hard workout. So as more energy is demanded, our bodies start looking for energy from other sources. So let's put this in perspective. When I'm sitting at home on the couch watching Netflix, my body's producing approximately 1 millimole per liter of lactic acid in my blood. Now, when I'm out racing and I'm at the highest level, my heart rate is pounding because I'm demanding so much of my body can produce anywhere between 15 millimoles per liter to 20 millimoles per liter of lactic acid in the blood. And that right there is the brief scientific explanation for the common sense idea that as you go harder, you start to get more tired. So basically what training zones are there different heart rate levels that we use to train, because at these different heart rate levels, our body is producing different levels of lactic acid. And there have been a lot of scientific studies that have really dove deep into how much you should be training at different levels, how much you should be doing at different levels, what you should be doing at different levels, when you should be at different levels. Now, it doesn't make sense for us to train all the time in level 5, because our bodies will be producing a lot of lactic acid, and over time our bodies are just going to become so tired that we're just not going to be able to perform. We're not going to be able to get back to that level of going that hard because we're just so exhausted all the time. So level 1 is the area that we're going to spend most of our time in. This is where we are going super easy. We're not producing that much lactic acid, but we are getting the benefits of getting out and training. Now, this concept might seem backwards. If we're trying to become faster at racing and we want to go faster, why are we supposed to be going easier? At level 1, you can do a lot, and the science has shown that that is where you're supposed to be doing most of your workout anyway. And when I say most, I mean almost all. 90% of our training should be in level 1. At level 1, we can work on things like technique. You can also, at level 1, just get out and build endurance muscle. And this is where the clickbaity title, the clickbaity intro comes in, where you're training way too hard. It's believed that we're in level 1 when we are between 1 millimole of lactic acid in our blood and about 1.5. When we are in this level, this is what level 1 should be. For some people, this might be 100 beats per minute for heart rate. For other people, this could be 120. It's all dependent on the individual. But what is consistent, and what I have found to be consistent as a coach, when I take blood samples from my athletes and I find them at these heart rate levels, I ask them, what is your perceived effort? Most of the time, my athletes will give me a perceived effort of about 2 to 3, maybe 4 on a scale of 1 to 10. Pretty easy, right? Well, guess what? The blood sample is literally showing us that you are in L1, but you're telling me that this is really easy, this is almost too easy. I ask most of my athletes, when you're training on a scale of 1 to 10, what should your level 1 feel like? And most of them say about 4 to 5. But the science is showing us that you're in level 1 at the perceived effort of 2 to 3. So that right there tells me that you are training too hard. When do we actually get to the perceived effort of 3 to 4? That is when we move into level 2. And now this is where we are producing 1.5 to approximately 2 millimoles of lactic acid in our blood, and the studies have shown that this is no good. We're confusing our body. We're going just a little bit too hard, and we're putting just a little bit too much stress on our body for the duration that we're going to be training, but we're not going easy enough that we can go for a super long time. In my experience as a coach, the perceived effort of 3 to 4 is coming back at approximately 1.5 to 2 millimoles per liter of lactic acid in your blood. So if you're training at a perceived effort of 3 to 4 and you think that you're in L1, guess what? You're actually in L2 based on the blood samples. All right, moving forward to L3. This is the confusing one where coach says he wants you to go hard, but not too hard, and it's not as fast as racing, but it is an interval. What the heck is L3? This is where our body turns over from aerobic to anaerobic. And basically what I mean by that is our bodies are starting to produce so much lactic acid that we can no longer flush out that lactic acid at a high enough rate. If we're going super easy and we're in L1 and we're only producing like 1.5 millimoles of lactic acid per liter, our bodies will be able to use the ATP, use the glucose to keep providing us energy while it's flushing out that lactic acid that we're building up from using the glucose. That's cool. But once we start getting down to this threshold, this L3 level, it's starting to get a little bit trickier. We're not able to keep up with that demand of clearing out the lactic acid, right? Because we're still demanding more energy. Our body can't neglect energy because we're gonna drop dead and die. So our body has to focus on the demand of energy and keep producing energy, and it's gonna keep using that glucose and that ATP and keep creating lactic acid while the store of lactic acid starts building up. The threshold level, which is approximately 4 millimoles per liter in our blood, which has been found to be consistent across many athletes, many countries, many studies, that level is what we call our threshold level. So by training right at that level where we're just on the brink of not being able to clear out that lactic acid, you can teach your body to be extremely efficient. Now let's go back to that perceived effort idea that I mentioned before. I say, athlete, we're doing L3 today. I want you to try to stay in L3. What's your perceived effort? Well, it's about 5 to 6, because it's L3. I'm not supposed to be going all out, right? I'm like, okay, let's take a lactic acid reading. Boom, prick, test. They're pushing the 5 to 7 lactic acid reading, well above that 4.0 threshold. So the moral of the story is L3 is easier than you think. And this is the most important thing that I can express to you in this video. L1 and L3 are not about speed. It's all about time. It's more important that you're able to get 60 quality minutes of L3 or like a 2-hour workout in L1. It's more important that you're able to hit your time than it is for you to go fast. If your goal for the day is to do 60 minutes of L3 and you have to bail after 45 minutes because you're feeling tired, you're feeling fatigued because you're going too hard, you just failed the workout. You blew right past it and now your body is focusing on something completely different. You absolutely need to be going easier than you think. All right, everybody, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm probably gonna be coming out with some other videos about this topic because it's so dang important. This is the #1 area that I see people messing up. Shooting is great and all, but we know that to be a good biathlete, you need to be a fast skier. There's no way around that. If you learned something today, hit hit the like button down below. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And until next time, we'll see ya.